Order. First item in the agenda, call introductions. My name is Jose Rodriguez. I am with the town of Oro Valley. Let's see. How do you want to do this, Jen?
I can just read the names if
Just
you
read
want
the
to.
names, please.
Okay, Adam Ledford,
Hi, everybody. Adam Ledford with PAG.
Rick,
Rick Ellis, PAG RTA.
Hansu,
Hey, good morning, as you know, PAG.
James Tao, James.
You there, James?
Sounds like he's having some
He's on
AV.
audio.
We'll go to Unimi.
Good morning. Are you me, Pat?
All right, thanks, Unimi. Then we have Dan
Good morning, all. Dan Gabbio, PAG RTA.
and Fausto
Morning, everybody. Foster Burrell, Town of Marana.
and Hannah.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Hannah Odin Pag.
And Josue. Josue, it looks like you're muted. All right, we're having trouble.
Yeah, your mic.
We'll go to Catherine.
Catherine Skinner, Pima County.
Catherine and Lance.
Good morning, Lance Peterson, PAG.
And Natalie.
Natalie Shap, Pima County Environmental Quality.
And Paul.
Hi, everybody. Paul Casertano, Pima County DOT.
Thanks, Paul. And Josue, are you able to unmute yourself? It looks like we're still having some trouble hearing Josue, but we do see that he's here. It also looks like Andy Bemis has joined us.
Good morning. Yep, Andy Bemis, City of Tucson, DTM.
Right, and I'm Jeanette DeRen, Transportation Planning Director here at PAG. I believe I got everybody, but if there's anybody else online, feel free to unmute yourself and introduce yourself.
How about Jeremy Moore from ADOT?
Oh, there's Jeremy Moore from ADOT. Sorry, Jeremy.
Forgotten. I see how it is.
The names dance around, you know? What can we do?
Anybody else online?
I don't know, Jeanette, if I introduced myself, Jimmy Brown, PAG RTA.
Jamie Brown. Sorry,
Miss Jamie.
Jeremy, I didn't catch your title.
Oh, Jeremy, that's right.
Oh, yeah. My title is the new ADOT District Administrator. That is
Congratulations.
Hey, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Jeremy.
Congrats.
And sorry, I'm running late. Davita from Centurion. Davita Mueller.
Hi, Davita. Thanks for joining us. It looks like Nalo also joined us.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. This is Nalo, Town of Sarita.
And Chris?
Yeah, Chris Stevie from the University of Arizona.
Fantastic. Unless anybody else has joined, I think that covers everybody, including Jamie.
So did we get everybody?
Patrick here too with PEG.
There's Dustin. Wonderful. The whole gang is here.
Jennifer Holbert's here as well.
Oh, welcome, Jennifer.
Anybody else who we missed? Okay. Hearing none. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item number 2, in-kind reporting.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Regional planning efforts are enhanced by recording time donated by attendees, volunteers, and participants. PAG collects data on the time dedicated to meetings and activities to apply for use as matching funds for grants and federal dollars. If you're paid with federal dollars, please let us know. Time spent in preparation for this meeting will be estimated by PAG staff who are knowledgeable of the agenda and meeting materials. At the conclusion of the meeting, the session report will automatically calculate your time spent in this meeting. Time spent working on PAG RTA initiatives, programs, and special projects may also be eligible for consideration for matching funds. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dan. Okay, moving on to item number 3, the approval of December 17, 2025 meeting summary. Did everybody get a chance to look at them and review them? Any questions, comments? This is an action item.
I move to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay, we have a motion by Andy
Jeremy Moore, second.
and Jeremy second. Any further discussions, questions, comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? The ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, Household Travel Study and Assessment HTSA update. Gang. You know me?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. So I need to share my screen, right?
Yes,
For
please.
the PPT slide. Just a second.
I think
Or
you can get the on the bottom you will see any kind of just the button like a move forward.
Isa will give you slide control so you can move forward.
You can use a cursor if needed. You want to try?
okay.
Got it.
Yeah, got it. So yeah, I'm happy to present the PEC Household Travel Study and Assessment today. Here are the main contents today's presentations: Household Travel Survey and Assessment Overview. Sorry. And summary of PEC Household Travel Survey data, regional travel patterns and air quality and future works. The main survey started in November 2024 and ended in May 2025. We collected travel behavior of 4,911 households of Western Pima County and some of Pinal County, the Saddlebrook area. And for the survey methods, the survey app collected 54% of samples and the caddy system collected 46% of household samples. And the original target was to collect 4,200 household samples to ensure adequate the representation of special population groups for households with college students or transit users. An additional 800 samples were planned to be collected. And as for the completed household samples, a total of 4,154 general certified household samples were collected. We also obtained 257 households with college students and 500 households with transit user for the special population groups. And the next table presents the distribution of completed samples by household size, income level, and number of workers. And it includes all our stratified samples and special population the households. And the overall, the distribution of completed surveys was satisfactory with some limitations. We can see lower participation rate for households of 2 people without employees and households with high income level, which is over $150,000. So the participation of these groups were lower than the other groups, as you can see. And there are multiple data review processes for data quality assurance and quality control. During the data collection, a dedicated review team, the consulting firm, reviewed household, person, vehicle, and trip diary of each individual records collected. And this review team checked any missing information or any illogical inaccuracies. If there are any issues with the quality of collected data, the ETC reviewer reach out to the respondent to obtain the missing information or to verify and update the illogical information. And once all records were reviewed, the data were compiled into 5 separate data files, including household information, person information, vehicle information, tree information, and GPS information. And once again, the data was reviewed on aggregate level to perform data quality check. They check a lot of items. It includes logical inconsistency between time and distance, logical consistency between arrival and departure time, consistency for sharing trips within a household, and so forth, including the GIS data, the information. And for weighting and expansion methods, a multi-dimensional iterative proportional, the weighting method was applied to the collected data set. And there are 3 levels of expansion process, which includes household level weighting, person level weighting, and trip level weighting. So there are 3 the weighting factors we have. And each stage uses iterative proportional fitting to align the survey data with demographic targets from external ground truth data sources, which include population estimates from the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity, AOEO, and demographic estimate from the Census America Community Survey, ACS data set, and employment data from the PAC employment database and employment ratio provided by the University of Arizona Eller College of Management. And so these control tools serve as benchmark values that ensure the survey results accurately represent the population. So the table contains the selected variables for the control tools. As we can see some location of the completed household samples and most participating households in Tucson, Marana, Green Valley, and Vale area. And I will be presenting a summary of the PAC household travel survey data, which contains a household person, vehicle entry records. The report contains a series of descriptive analysis across these data sets, and the items highlighted in red here have been selected for today's presentation for your interest. And first, I'm going to present household characteristics regarding household size, number of workers, and household income. So the household size and number of workers. The first table shows that the 2-person households make up the largest share at 35.8%, followed by single-person households at 31.7%. Together, 1- and 2-person households account for nearly 67% of all households. And regarding the number of the workers, approximately 34% of households have no workers, and 37.9% have 1 worker, and 22.3% have 2 workers. And regarding household income, nearly 37% of households earn less than $50,000 annually, while 33.1% report incomes above $100,000, and among them, the 16.2% report incomes above $150,000 annually. And then I will discuss key person level characteristics. The first item is age and ethnicity, employment status, flex time availability, and primary industry. So for the age, 78.6% of the population is under age 65, while 21.4% are age 65 or older. So nationally, people aged 65 and older make up about 18% of the US population in 2024, which is the most recent data reported from the census, the ACS data. And compared with this national share, our population includes a higher proportion of older adults. But conversely, the 22.4% of our population is under age 20, which is lower than the national share of 24.1% in 2024. In other words, we have relatively more older adults and fewer younger people compared with the national population. And the next ethnicity, the white population make up the largest share at 52%, followed by the Hispanic population at 36.1%. Employment status shows that 38% are employed, while 62% are not currently working. Among those who are employed, nearly 75% work full-time and 16.5% work part-time. And in addition, 5.3% are self-employed full-time workers and 3.4% are self-employed part-time workers. For the flexible work schedule, 52.5% of workers have a flexible work schedule according to our survey result. And because the number of records for primary industry is relatively small, so industries were grouped into 3 categories, including primary industry, primary industrial, commercial service, and social public. And the social and public industries represent the largest share at 44.7%, and commercial and service industries have the second largest share at 30.1%. And the next among the vehicle characteristics, I will discuss vehicle type and fuel type. For the type of vehicle, almost half of all vehicles are cars, accounting for 53.3%. The second largest share is sport utility, the SUV, at 24.6%, followed by pickup truck at 13.8%. Altogether, these 3 vehicles types make up total 91.7% of the total fleet. And most cars, almost 89%, use gasoline, and hybrid account for 4.4%, and diesel vehicles make up 3.2%, and all electric plug-in represent 2.5%, which shows the larger share than propane, natural gas, or plug-in hybrid vehicles. And I will present the regional travel patterns and air quality. And the first item is the vehicle, the ownership. So 60.9% of households own a vehicle, meaning they rely on alternative transportation services. And the largest share, 36.8%, own 2 vehicles, and the second largest share, 36.8%, own 1 vehicle. In addition, 19% of households own more than 3 vehicles, indicating a higher level of vehicle access and greater the travel flexibility. And for the electric vehicle ownership, as I previously discussed, the share of owning the electric vehicles is much smaller than that of the gasoline vehicles. And also electric plug-in, hybrid, and hybrid plug vehicles together account for 7.6% for the fleet, and while gasoline vehicles make up nearly 89%. And regarding the ownership of electric vehicles, only 3.6% of households currently own an electric vehicle. And for the question on electric vehicle ownership in the future, 31.5% of households without electric vehicle plan to purchase one, whereas 60.4% do not plan to own an electric vehicle. We also asked respondents why they purchase an electric vehicle, and the top 3 reasons were: I can help save the environmental and improve air quality by using an EV. I can save fuel costs because overall gasoline price is higher than electrical cost. I have solar panels installed in my home, which can be used to charge my EV. So overall, the leading motivations for EV adoption are environmental concerns and economic considerations. And the survey data revealed that the bicycle ownership is relatively widespread among households in the region, with over 52.4% reporting ownership of at least one bicycle, and specifically 20.8% on one bicycle, 15.2% on 2 bicycles, and 16.4% report owning 3 or more. And here are the 3 purposes based on the destination, and about 30.1% of trips and at home, shopping, errands, and dining account for 33.3%, which is the largest share, revealing a high level of discretionary and maintenance travel. And work-related travel represents 10.6% of trips, while 4.7% are to educational institutions across all grade levels, including preschool through college. Recreation, entertainment activities make up 2.9%, and civic religious activities account for 0.7%. Visiting friends or family represents 6.4% of trips, and chauffeuring or delivery for pay service such as Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, and etc. account for 0.7% of trips, and 5% of trips are for pickup or drop-off purposes. And the dominant mode of transportation is private automobiles, which account for 91% of all trips. Public transportation represents only 1%, indicating limited use, while active modes such as walk and bike account for 4.9%. School buses contribute 1.9% of trips. The share of ride-hailing services such as taxi, Uber, Lyft is at 0.7%. And according to the survey data, most trips are relatively short in both the time and distance. In terms of duration, 25.6% of trips are completed in under 6 minutes, and another 25.52% take between 6 to 10 minutes. About 17.9% last 11 to 15 minutes, and an additional 20% fall within the 16 to 30 minutes range. Altogether, 68.4% of trips take less than 16 minutes, and 92% are completed within half an hour. And the distance distribution shows similar patterns with the trip distribution. There are substantial short distance trips. A total of 80.8% of trips are within 10 miles, and the most common trip lengths fall between 1 to 3 mile range, which is 24.4%. For trending news, respondents were asked about how often they use transit in past 6 months, and majority of them, the 67.3%, reported not using public transit, and 3.9% uses daily basis, and 6.7% uses transit weekly basis. And this result shows the limited use of transit for many households, and the transit-dependent segmentation of population is relatively very small. And regarding telecommuting, 18% always work remotely, while 12.2% work remotely on some days. Altogether, 30.2% work telecommute, which is lower than the national average of 33%. For the question of a convenience of telecommuting to employee, 47.9% of employees find it easy, while 38% find it difficult. And Pima online shopping, the Pima County households receive an average of 0.5 online shopping deliveries per day, and they make 0.4 package-related trips per day. In addition, 77.9% of households hold at least one online shopping membership. And so I bring this e-commerce membership data result, and actually it is a personal level analysis. And among these memberships, Amazon is the most common at 34.3%, followed by Walmart Plus at 11.5%, and DoorDash at 8.8%. Pima County households travel on average of 39.6 miles per day and generate approximately 13.1 kilogram of greenhouse gas emissions. At the individual level, residents travel 19.7 miles of daily VMT and produce 6.7 kilogram of emissions per day. And both the household level and personal level VMT in Pima County fall below national averages, which are 50 miles per day for households and 40 miles per day for individuals. And household greenhouse gas emissions are also lower than the national benchmark of 20 kilogram per day. And I will compare the vehicle ownership, mode choice, and trip purpose between 2008 and 9, NHTS Arizona add-on samples, and the 2025 PAC household travel survey. And before comparing them, I think it is important to note that the 2008 and 9 NHTS represents statewide travel patterns, while the PAC HTS focuses on Pima County. Regarding household vehicle ownership, there are notable differences between the 2008 and 9 NHTS and the 2025 PAC household travel survey data. In the shares of 0 vehicles and 1 vehicle households, the NHTS reports 9.1% 0 vehicle households compared with 6.9% in the PAC HTS. And for 1 vehicle households, the PAC HTS shows 37.3%, and it is slightly higher than the 34.3% reported in the 2008 NHTS, the Arizona add-on dataset. And auto travel is the dominant mode in both dataset, but its share increases substantially from 78.7% in 2009 to 91% in 2025. Correspondingly, the shares of all other modes declined, with particularly notable decreases in public transportation, walking. Although the two datasets are not directly comparable, since the 2008 and 9 NHTS reflects the statewide Arizona travel patterns, as I mentioned, the 2025 result clearly shows an even higher reliance on auto travel among all modes. Trip proposed patterns have changed over time. The shares of trips for home, work, school, recreation, entertainment, pickup, drop off have all declined, while trips for shopping, dining, errands, visiting, and other have increased. The 2025 data set also captures paid delivery or chauffeuring trips, which account for 0.7% of all trips, and it is a new category, and it was not reported in the earlier the data set. For the future work areas, several areas of future work will build on the findings of this analysis. So first, the integrating household activity and trip diary data with additional data sources will provide a deeper understanding of regional travel behavior and mode choice patterns. And second, priority areas will be identified to support improvements in multimodal transportation options, enhance regional air quality, expand accessibility, and advance Title VI and equality goal through data-driven insights. And third, key implementation and calibration parameters for the PAC travel demand model will be established, strengthening its application in regional transportation planning and analysis. And that's it. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you, Yunomi. This is an informational item. Any questions for the committee?
I have one. It was very informational, a lot in there. I was just hoping that this could be sent out to the members so we can spend a little more time with the presentation and digest the results. And my apologies if it already has been and I missed it.
Did we send this thing out to the committee?
I don't believe it's been sent out yet, but we can put it with the meeting summary and get it out to everybody.
That'll be great, yeah, because that is a lot of information.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other questions from the committee? Hearing none or seeing none. I don't see any. Do you see any, Jeanette? I don't see any.
Not.
All right, hear none. Thank you. Thank you, Numi.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to item number 5, RTA delivery approach and cash flow assessment status and update. Rick, Jamie?
I was going to say, I'll go ahead and kick it off, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, and then let the other team members jump in as they see appropriate. So as a continuation of the efforts and activities we've been working on for the detailed cash flow breakouts and the delivery efforts associated with RTA Next, we had reached out right before the Christmas break to try and connect with all the jurisdictional members, review over all the projects. We heard back and were able to connect with several of you. We've kind of gone to that next iteration, and last week I sent out an email requesting a follow-up that with really 2 key purposes. We really need to connect with you to get the details, the information, the specifics, what you intend on the particularly the roadway corridor projects, and breaking that down to the level of detail as I outlined in my email with the design amounts, right-of-way amounts, and construction. That's going to help build upon as we're going forward, and as you'll hear more talked about with the upcoming activities on that. So we're building upon what we had gotten preliminarily. We need the additional detail. It's a lot of extra work, and we know that's going to be critical and useful because that's going to set the stage then for reporting that we're going to start doing with CART, TMC, and the board ultimately. So that's one thing. So we've started that. We've been meeting with a couple of the jurisdictions and have more to go. So please follow back up, get back in touch, let us know when you're available, and we'll connect with you on those details. We also took the information we had received and we were able to plug that in. And like everybody had expected through the tail end of last year, we have a very front-loaded, financially unbalanced overall assessment. So that was our first cut. And part of our discussions when we get with you then is seeing and exploring if there's ways we can make any kind of modifications, adjustments that'll help us get a little bit better fiscal balance on that. So that's a work in progress as well. Obviously, we didn't want to go too far based on just preliminary information, but that's also the second component of that and why we'll be following up with you and having those discussions with you specifically just to see where we're going to land financially, And that information is asked to be presented to the Technical Management Committee at the February meeting. So there is kind of a high sensitivity on getting both of these pieces brought together, get our analysis completed, plugged in, so that we can share that with the TMC and then subsequent committees as requested. So verbal update, just simple status on where we're at and the activities underway. Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to answer any questions or any of the team members if they wish to add anything to what I've shared.
Thank you, Rick. Anybody from the committee, questions? Anybody? Oh, there's Jamie.
Mr. Chair, if there are no questions for Rick, I do have another item under this agenda item to walk through as well. So
Just
happy to
one-
do that already.
Okay, thank you, Jamie. Rick, when did you send out that email? Was it recently?
Sent that out last week, Wednesday, 12:45 p.m. And I sent it to both you and Paul.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. To answer your question, Wednesday the 14th, 12:45, titled, what did I title it? RTA Next Project Delivery Refinement.
And you need that information by?
Hoping before the end of the month.
Okay.
Want to connect with you, talk through it and everything else. We've been tasked with bringing it to the TMC. They requested it at the February meeting. So we're going to need a little time to process it, analyze it, mail it in advance if needed. So that's why we gave such a time frame on that.
Thank you, Rick. If there's no other questions for Rick, I don't see any. Jamie.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm going to share screen and put up a PowerPoint presentation. So it says I'm sharing screen. And so, Mr. Chair, can you see that presentation? Can you see a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, so this is related to Rick's update. We've got several different tasks that are happening concurrently that will ultimately converge into financially constrained project lists. And those project lists will help inform the next RTA budget, will inform if we're going to do a large FY27 TIP amendment with some rebalancing and also additional projects included in the TIP, and also prepare us for the next TIP development process. So one of the things that has come up and we've been aware of for a while, but wanted to follow up on some conversation at the last TPC meeting about the use of SDBG or the programming of SDBG in the first period of RTA Next. So we want to talk through our internal thinking about this. This is a proposal. And then I also have we have a detailed worksheet I'd like to put on screen. These materials have not been shared with you yet. In fact, I had drafts last week, but still needed to do some refinement, and really they weren't ready until yesterday. So my apologies that these weren't ready to send out with the packet, but we can follow up and send these materials after the meeting. So what is the situation? The situation is that if you look, in the next slide, I'll show this, that the RTA Next plan commits over $237 million of non-RTA dollars to Element 1A projects. Those are those modified roadway element projects from the 2006 plan, sometimes called the deferred or the scope change projects. And here, let me just scroll down so you can see it, get a visual. So if you look at the RTA Next plan, you've got the column here, the RTA project budgets, which shows the transaction privilege tax, the RTA tax at $257 million. But then this column that's highlighted in yellow, that's the $237 million that I'm referring to in the slide above. So the budgeted total, this 237, is composed of approximately 5 years of HERF 12-6 at $157 million, and almost $80 million of federal surface transportation block grant funding. And we know that when we program any federal funds on a project, it federalizes it, and federalizing a project adds time and cost. Therefore, the goal is to minimize the number of projects that are federalized, just consolidate those federal dollars to the extent possible. And so that's the goal that's been discussed by member agencies. And so we wanted to talk through an approach to doing just that. So again, here's the RTA Next plan, the aggregate amount of HERF and SDBG of $237 million. So what's the potential approach? So the steps here just generally are to identify projects in those first 5 years that are potential candidates for use of federal SDBG that are not part of those 1A, those seven modified projects. So we know that in the current TIP, we have SDBG programmed on the city's 22nd Street Bridge project. The Valencia Road project is the City of Tucson's project, the I-19 to Algernon project, and Pima County First Avenue North project has SDBG program. We also see that for period 1 of the RTNX plan, that there are 2 ADOT projects, one to study, the Storm Corridor study, and the Moore Road TI, that will most likely be federalized, at least the Moore Road TI, because of all of the RAC money, the federal RAC dollars that will be programmed to that will federalize it. So that's step 1, just thinking about other projects that could be recipients of the SDBG. Then another step, identify RTA1 roadway projects with HERF 12.6 currently programmed in the TIP. We know we have an abundance of 12.6 that's programmed and hasn't been expended. So take a closer look at those. Then identify the projects that could exchange uncommitted RTA1 fund balance TPT with the HERF 12.6. So we know through discussions over the summer and the fall that we've got a cash balance plus the projected RTA1 revenues this fiscal year. If you subtract out what's been programmed for all the RTA1 elements, there is an uncommitted, unprogrammed amount. I should say it's actually all committed to delivering RTA1, but it's unprogrammed. So what we know that's over $100 million, and so we can do an exchange with this RTA1 and the HERF 12.6. So the goal is to apply those 12.6 funds that we've made available by exchanging with RTA1 fund balance and shift those over to RTNX 1A, again, the modified projects, so that all 237 million is HERF 12.6, not a combination of 12.6 and SDBG. So that way those projects don't need to be federalized. And then we want to illustrate this through a detailed worksheet that shows the rebalancing of the programming to see if it actually works. Again, so the potential approach is to program RTA1 fund balance in place of HERF 12.6 on projects in the TIP. That HERF 12.6 that has been replaced by RTA1 is then available for RTNX 1A instead of SDBG, and then find a home for the SDBG that's not in RTA 1A, but could be again continue to be applied to the 22nd Street Bridge project, the Moore Road TI, etc. So some key assumptions with this, and then I'm going to put up a worksheet too so we can walk through it, that there is sufficient unprogrammed RTA1 TPT. And we've had different staff looking at that and monitoring it over the several months. And we're confident that we have over $100 million of unprogrammed RTA. Again, it's all committed, but it just hasn't been programmed yet. Another assumption, there is sufficient unexpended HERF 12.6 and FY26 for a funding exchange. I believe we can demonstrate that, but we would want to confirm this with the member agencies, particularly the City of Tucson, to see that that's still the case. Another assumption is that SDBG can be programmed on the 22nd Street Bridge an additional amount. We did not fully allocate all of the SDBG or program it all to the 22nd Street Bridge. Some of it has been programmed to the Pima County's First Avenue North project. All of this needs to be discussed with the member agencies to see if it's workable, if it's desirable, that the RTNX TPT can be exchanged with the Moore Road TI. There's no issue there. We need to confirm that, as well as the Storm Corridor, and that it can be added back to RTNX 1A. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, because that's a little bit confusing to just mention. So I'm going to exit from this. Hopefully you still see my screen, and I'm going to put up this PDF of a worksheet. Mr. Chair, can you still see the worksheet?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So again, this hasn't been shared. This, if you look at the date, this is dated yesterday. We've had earlier versions, but they just weren't ready to share, and this wasn't ready till yesterday, so apologies. So we've got at the top, we've got some notes. There's a lot to go through here, and I'm not going to go through every single cell. That would take way too long. But I do want to orient you to this. Again, we'll share it out for some feedback. We can also bring it up on one-on-one meetings, and maybe we will schedule some special meetings as we need to with the committee or even the TIP subcommittee in the coming weeks. But what this is trying to do is show, again, how we can address the use of federal SDBG in fiscal years 27 through 31, and also rebalance the programming of those funding sources, those major funding sources, 12.6 SDBG and RTA, transaction privilege tax, to meet the cost to complete. So as I scroll down here on the left, we're going to read this left to right. We've got a list of the RTA Element 1 projects. These are the roadway projects, right? These are listed in shorthand currently. We'll want to probably use the TIP naming convention for later iterations of this. But we've got them all listed here, and they're broken out, they're grouped by, we've got the modified projects, also known as the deferred, the 7 down here below. So we've split those segments and projects out separately in this worksheet. If you see the orange, that means that they're already federalized. That's just to highlight those. You'll see some, this dark green is kind of a key number because this is the total cost to complete. Again, it's excludes any, like the raised grant, for example, on 22nd Street, it excludes local funds from the TIP because we had another version that had all of that. It was a little bit too complicated, so I wanted to simplify it a little bit. So this subtracts that out and just looks at those major funding sources that we're trying to solve for. So we've got over $1 billion total here. I'm going to scroll over to the far right just to show you kind of a, it'll let me, here we go. You can see that when we get all the way over here, we've gone through these different iterations, which I'll walk through an example. We see that they balance, that we've found a way with this proposal to do all the programming and have a balance that matches the cost to complete. A key thing that we've done is we've added almost $100 million of unprogrammed TPT to make that work. Just another column just to show the differences, to show, yes, that in fact the cost to complete and the proposal do in fact zero out and match. So scrolling back over here again, now I'm going to scroll back up and show an example. So we've got the roadway projects listed here, the cost to complete. Then we look in this big box at fiscal years 25, 26. I've consolidated those because I did want to show all of the STBG. STBG doesn't roll forward, so I'm just showing the 25 amount plus the 26 for this purpose. Most of this, the RTA and HERF, though, has rolled forward to 26. But let's just look, and then you see we've got RTA 1 transaction privilege tax, we've got HERF 12.6, we've got STBG. Labeled the column so that you can see the math as we go to the right. And then we've got current programming in the TIP, and then a proposal. Again, this is just illustrative, needs to be vetted, discussed, adjusted, but just to show that this could work in theory, right? So in this case, we've got, scroll over here. Here we go. We've got Tangerine Road Phase 2A. We've got current programming, 16.6 million. The proposal is to increase that to 25.6 million of TPT. For HERF, current programming 9 million. Proposal is to decrease that. Again, we're trying to increase the amount of RTA TPT and decrease the amount of HERF 12.6. In this case, the STBG remains constant. So yeah, STBG more or less in this area stays constant. Now, this box shows 20 FY27 through 2031. We've got RTA next TPT, not RTA 1, but RTA next TPT, HERF 12.6, and STBG. So this has the RTA allocation from the plan, the RTA Next plan. If you scroll down, you see all these amounts that total the same amount as you see in that table I shared in the presentation. And then for HERF 12.6, I've included the current programming, but keep in mind that the current programming only extends through 2029. So it's a little, it's tempting to remove it. It's just really for reference because this whole period really does also include through 2030 and 31. So keep that in mind that the programming here in this column does not include 30 and 31. And then we've got the RTA Next allocation. So here's where assumptions needed to be made in terms of what would be the HERF contribution versus the STBG. Remember that that table just showed the two in aggregate. The 237 million is the combination. It didn't break it out and say these projects will have STBG, these will have HERF 12.6. So in this case, it's just an illustrative example of how it could be broken out in terms of those allocations so that we can move the dollars around. And then the same with the STBG. So if you scroll down to the sums, key numbers here, and then I'll probably wrap it up because there's a lot of information here. You probably want to look at it closely, and then we can follow up and answer questions. So what are we really trying to solve for? Remember, we want to shift almost $80 million of HERF over into RTA Next because we don't want that column to have the RTA Next 1A to have any STBG. We want to find another home for it outside of RTA 1A. So we're moving 79,780 from HERF over to RTA Next. We also increased the amount of programming of the RTA TPT. Remember, that's what this column is. We've increased that by almost $100 million. And then sometimes there's a lag here. I apologize. I'm trying to scroll over. Here we go. Oh, something I'm not doing. I apologize, everybody. So, well, I can just explain it. So if we were to scroll over, you would see that the 79 million of HERF was shifted over into RTA Next so that the column of non-committed RTA funds is composed entirely of HERF 12.6. That was our goal. And you can see that the STBG is shifted to the 22nd Street Bridge project. It's where it already has programming. We've increased the programming a little bit. We would need to see if that's even workable in terms of match requirements, but that's a proposal. And then also kept on the Valencia Road project, removed it from Pima County's project. Maybe that's a conversation with the county, see if that's what they'd like, but just to see if what that would look like. We then also applied STBG to the Moore Road TI, 30 million, and also almost 2 million to the Sonoran Corridor study so that we fully programmed the 79,780 of STBG. So again, I'm struggling a little bit with the mouse, but wanted to just kind of walk you through that at a high level to show you. I think there was just questions about, what would this look like, PAG RTA staff? So we've been asked that question, wanted to let everybody know we've been working through it. We have a potential way in which that would work. But again, it needs to be reviewed by our member agencies, discussed and refined. And with that, I'll stop sharing and we'd be happy to answer any questions about that.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Questions from the committee? Don't see any hands.
I just raised my hand, Jose.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Kathleen.
That's okay. I know, Jamie, you said you would share that with us. Are you guys planning on emailing just that sheet to us like soon, or should we just wait till it's in the meeting summary packet? Because I know I was having trouble kind of tracking the whole spreadsheet because you can't see it all at once on the screen.
Yeah, great question, Mr. Chair. Members of the committee, Ms. Skinner. So we would like to share the Excel sheet with the committee soon, as soon as today. So with the understanding that this is a working draft, it's just illustrative. So yeah, that would be the goal. And we can also share it in the packet as a PDF, but if it's helpful to see the calculations in Excel, we'd like to just share it in its native format.
I think that sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Let's see, we got Natalie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just curious, are you all going to be putting together numbers for how the RTA1 projects will be completed if the RTA next election does not result in it passing? So the scenarios for both cases, I guess, is what I'm asking about.
Do you have a plan B, Jamie?
That's a great question. Thank you, Ms. Shep. I'm wondering if Dan, if you want to jump in. I'll just say that from my perspective, we've been focusing right now with our limited staff resources in our group just on how we can demonstrate what happens with RTA next. Understanding that if it's not successful, we'll need to think about all the rebalancing necessary in that situation. But we really are focusing right now on the passage of RTA next and how we prepare for that. But that's a great, we do also need to be thinking about, option B. And Dan, I don't know if you wanted to add to that.
Sure, Jamie, Mr. Chair. Right now, our focus is on RTA next passing, and all of our effort is moving towards that. Should it not pass in March, then we'll be reaching out to the board and our committees to discuss a plan B. But the important message right now to the public is that there is not a good plan B. So we don't want to run a bunch of scenarios to confuse the public at this time. We really just want to focus on the positive. And again, if March is not successful for the election, we'll come back and we'll have to rework everything.
Thank you, Dan. Like that. Optimistic, huh? Okay, Andy, do you have your hand up?
I do, but I'll just save my comments for after I've had a moment to pour over the sheet a little more in detail. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else? I don't see anybody. Well, it's a good concept, Jamie. Trying to reduce the number of federalized projects into one or two. My question is it doable? I mean, federal funds are time sensitive. Can you hold off all the funding into 2 projects or 3? Because they have a time frame. I mean, they're time sensitive. You have to obligate some of these federal funds. I guess that's my only concern.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what makes this whole exercise a challenge, that the different constraints with the different funding sources and the timing, right? So that's something what we need to work through. We actually haven't even discussed this idea of using Moore Road TI as a recipient of SDBG with ADOT, right? So it's a little premature even for me to be sharing this, but we understand it's time sensitive and this has been requested. So we want to have those conversations. We may have to come back and say, oh, we've had the conversation. It's not going to work from a timing perspective, but we've identified this other option. I think that there are other options though that we can explore. We've got some in the back of the lines. So with this concept, it does more or less maintain in FY's fiscal years 27, 28, 29 the SDBG programming on 22nd Street Bridge, on Valencia that's already federalized. So it's also, I guess, a timing question with if, say, the Moore Road TI and the Sonoran Corridor concepts are somewhat feasible from a timing perspective, does that work in the tip too? So that's another layer we need to add into this. So I wonder, Rick, if you have any more you want to add to that.
I was going to say, Jamie, I think you both are going down, and the only thing I would add to that is, Jose, you're hitting right on it. I think the overall goal, as Jamie laid out, is to see programmatically, can we take advantage of opportunities and do the gyrations that Jamie's describing to minimize the number of projects, or at least identify strategically which projects makes the most sense to receive the federal funds. for the very delivery challenges you're bringing up type of thing. And then recognize that's going to be a conversation with each of the jurisdictions to say, how does that align with your particular goals, efforts, and endeavors on that? So it's programmatic at this point, but the overall purpose is exactly as you've described, and I'm sure the basis of the questions. How can we minimize the exposure of the various projects to those various challenges, delivery complications that come with the use of federal funds?
Thank you, Rick. Any other questions from anybody? I don't see any hands. Jamie, you said something?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just going to see if anybody else from our team had anything to add before we move on from this item. Want to make sure that there wasn't anything I said that was incorrect, or you want to add to. Just give me that opportunity. This has been
Anybody?
an effort.
I don't see anybody volunteering, so I guess we're good. Thank you, Jamie, Rick. And it's moving on. This is an informational item. Let's move on to item number 6. Updates related to the Transportation Improvement Program, known as a TIP. Jamie.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. We'll keep this very brief. This may be an opportunity for the city of Tucson to talk about the 22nd Street Bridge and the funding needs if the city would like to. This is pretty general, and that is TIP related. But to start, just wanted to give a brief update on the Regional Transportation Alternatives Grants process. As you all recall, we kicked that off in September with the call for projects. We had a November deadline. We formed the selection panel, and we've scheduled meetings with the project sponsors. We've got our first meetings this afternoon, and then we've got the rest next week. So that process is moving along. So nothing really to report other than that's in progress and on schedule. I want to appreciate everybody's time behind the scenes on that. And moving on from our tag, I know there's been some discussion with the city of Tucson about a funding gap for the 22nd Street Bridge project. So I wasn't sure if Mr. Bemis or Mr. Credio would like to talk about that today or wait.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Jamie, you want me to talk about that now?
Well, I'm hearing that there may be a time-sensitive decision in terms of the funding, and so we could maybe provide just a courtesy update to the TPC, unless it's just there's some things that we're just not ready to share yet. But if you think there's enough information at least to give them a courtesy update on the gap, we can talk about that. I can provide some information about some of those conversations too.
I'd be happy to, Jamie. Thanks for the opportunity. And Andy, feel free to jump in if I miss anything. We opened the bids for 22nd Street Bridge. They came in roughly 17 million above the engineer's estimate. We immediately got to work and started trying to figure out, all right, how do we close the gap? We did a lot of number crunching. We figured out after we pulled out some of the ineligibles, like, for example, what the utilities are going to pay for, like Tucson Water and Pima County Wastewater. We're actually just razor thin on being able to award the contract, where we ended up having to kind of use some funds to shore it up was really out of our contingency. So we're razor thin on the contingency for this project right now. And that's where we believe, through this effort, we could try to shore that up a little bit. We also acknowledge that there is quite a bit of work that needs to be done within ADOT right-of-way because of the connectivity to State Route 210. And so in conversations with PAG and ADOT, we were able to come up with roughly the amount that is going to be constructed within the ADOT right-of-way and could potentially be eligible for 2.6 funds. And so I think that's really what this conversation is about, is how can we help shore up 22nd Street Bridge through the use of some of those 2.6 funds.
Thank you, Mr. Credio. If I may add to that, yes, so the HERF 2.6 funds, as most of you are probably aware, those are made available to both PAG and MAG from the State Highway Fund per Arizona State Transportation Board policy. And so but the use of those funds are restricted to state highways and routes. And so in terms of the eligibility for the 22nd Street Bridge projects, we've talked with different ADOT staff at different divisions, including the South Central District, multimodal planning, financial management services, about the availability of HERF 26 because it's ADOT who manages the cash flow worksheet, and also the eligibility. And because of the nexus of the 22nd Street Bridge project, it also, as we see, the bridge actually crosses SR 210, but it has direct connection at grade with the ramps and other features to SR 210. And so it's our understanding that those improvements to the connection with SR 210 are indeed eligible for HERF 26. The policy in the TIP policies and procedures, I would say, are a little need to be updated because they reflect a time when we had an annual TIP process. So they talk about releasing their 2.6 through the TIP development process. There is the option of a waiver for going through the formal TIP amendment process if needed. But that's why we wanted to have this conversation with the TPC too, is we don't have a TIP amendment to share with the TPC, but this may be going through the committee process as a formal request in the coming weeks, is my understanding. And I guess I would say, I want to see if Rick has anything more to add to that. I know he's been involved in those conversations as well.
I think both of you summarized it up just fine, and thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, that's all we had. I guess if there are any questions or comments from members of the TPC, that would be helpful to hear.
Okay, guys, thank you. Let's see any hands. I don't see any. Catherine.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I always think if we can find opportunities to use 2.6, on projects that have this type of nexus, it seems appropriate and potentially a good use of funds that doesn't really affect balancing out all of the other projects in the TIP in order to fill this gap. And I know we've successfully done that on other county projects, so I would support, further investigation of this and whether we can make it happen.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Anybody else? So I guess my first question to you guys would be, what's the fund balance on the 2.6? Do we have enough? Do we have capacity for this?
Mr. Chair, I can answer that.
Hey.
So, in fact, I would say that ADOT is best equipped to answer that. Years ago, there was an over-programming situation with 2.6. We were actually generating our own 2.6 forecasts and programming it a certain way, and ADOT said, hey, because of the restrictions for use of this on state routes and highways, we prefer to monitor that because we're doing a lot of behind the scenes expenditures and it's fluctuating. So they started generating quarterly cash flow worksheets. And so we did meet with a large group of ADOT staff last, I think it was November, December timeframe to talk through the HERF 2.6 balance. And it looks like at a conservative level, there's about $22 million of unprogrammed HERF 2.6. And so there would be capacity to program that for this to meet the needs of this project. I'll just point out that we've got some major for RTA Next. We've got some major ADOT projects that would be eligible, and so there is a policy in the TIP policies and procedures that prioritizes the use of HERF 2.6. I've got the policies here. It says the first priority for 2.6 funding shall be given to projects that fund RTA projects that are on a state facility. So that's, I think, a pretty long-standing policy, and so we may want to be thinking about any unprogrammed balance of 2.6 and keeping that available for other RTA needs, project needs.
Okay, thank you. And the obviously these funds will be used for the ramp for the SR 210.
Well, I think at this, I don't think that the proposal right now that's being discussed would use all of the money. It wouldn't need all 22 million. In fact, we would need to triple check with ADOT that that number is in fact correct, but just verbally, that was what we heard in a meeting where we shared screen, we looked at it together. But so I think there would still be some unprogrammed balance. That said, the city of Tucson, I know they're working through some, looking at the numbers more closely. So I think we'll know soon what that need is.
Okay, thank you, James. Well, yeah, as soon as you have that information, yeah, again, we're all in support of that 22nd bridge. That's been out there for a while now. I'd like to see it get going. So absolutely, we're in support of it. There's no other questions from the, let's see, I don't see no hands. Seeing none. Okay, well, this is an informational item. And thank you. Let's move on to, let's see, we're up, item number 7. Request future agenda items and announcements. Anybody? Okay, don't see no hands. All right, thank you. Well, I guess we move on to item number 8. We are officially adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, everybody. Be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here.